What's happening, everybody? Um, it's sad that we got to do a video on this, but there's a lot of stuff that's been going on that people have been talking about that they're not talking about for this particular situation. And having been involved in training thousands of police officers, thousands of teachers, and everything else over the last 20 years of my life, I think there's some stuff that needs to be addressed. Obviously, I'm talking about the shooting in Nashville. Um, my heart goes out to the families and those that lost loved ones and their community, because their community is going to be affected by this also, not just the people that lost loved ones. So when you start thinking about this, it's the whole community that's going to be affected. So when you think about that, just wrap your head around all of that. Having been involved with active killers, active shooters, however you want to call it, there's a number of things that you need to take into account. Okay, on this particular incident, a lot of it comes down to the leadership. Okay, and that leadership was set up years prior to this incident actually happening. Okay, so Chief John Drake, I found numerous video clips of him saying, "We will go in. We will not let your children be harmed. We will put our lives on the line for your children." And it's obvious, based on the information that I've been able to put together and the things that I've been able to see through open source media, that his officers also believe that. And that's a trickle-down effect that comes from the leadership. So kudos to Chief John Drake. He passed that down to his officers, and his officers are living up to that standard, and he's holding them to that standard. The other piece comes to this school, the school officials that had all the stuff in play already for their active shooter program. Okay? Think about this. Think about how they've practiced these drills, how they've prepared their students, how they've prepared their teachers, how they've set up and prepared their school. Not in just doing the actual programs, but also in the hardening of their school. There are a number of things, and I've been watching all the people spout off about how the school didn't do anything to prepare. Well, there's a few things that are going to come out in this video that I'll point out to you specifically. Okay, where the school did do a lot of things to already prepare for this. Okay, so let's kind of think about all that little piece of that. Also understand that this shooter was a student at one point in time of this school. So she knew the layout. She knew kind of the schedule of how things work and all that kind of stuff. She knew how to get around the school. So it's just some things to think about. Now, another thing to think about was at, I think it was 9:53, is the first time that they see her vehicle driving around the campus that shows up on the CCTV. Okay. I've heard a number of people say there wasn't any there. Well, it's obvious that there was. In watching that footage, you can see that there are children actually playing on the playground when she's driving through the parking lots. Okay? Think about that. There has to be a protocol already in place to get this kids off the campus or into a classroom or away from the area where the shooting is going on. Okay? Now, is that something that can be done ad hoc? Yes, it is. However, all the footage and everything that I've seen, this was a plan that was executed, and it was executed very, very well. Okay? Now, the officers, they had to go through a training procedure and everything else. It's obvious that even though they were an ad hoc team, that they did very well working together. All those pieces came into play. The thing that you need to remember, this was not a special operations team. It was basically a patrol team with a few special operations people that it looked like, or some guys that had just gotten on duty or something like that because of the plainclothes aspect. Okay, so the first few officers that are arriving on scene are just uniformed guys. Okay, Engelbert was a uniform guy. He was a patrol rifleman. He had a patrol rifle. Okay, he had everything set up, ready to go. He had his rifle set up with his sling already ready to go. He had a magazine in the magwell. Okay, so there's a lot of things that was already set up before this thing even happened. Now, when she decides that she wants to go and breach the school, I have not been able to figure out exactly which door. I've got a pretty good idea, but I'm not going to put that out because I don't know for certain. So, with that, she begins her assault, and that's what it is. It's an assault into the school by shooting the glass because the school was prepared and already had all the doors locked. They're doing the best that they can in order to keep people out that don't belong there. Okay, so they've already got that plan in place. Now, there are a number of different protocols that they could be using. It depends on who was doing their active shooter teaching for their school, for that general area and everything else. Sometimes they pull alarms. Sometimes they pull the fire alarm. They could just get over a PA system and just say active shooter, lockdown, lockdown, lockdown. Okay, I don't know. I don't know what they actually used. Okay, so here's the reality. She puts, from what I could tell, over 5 rounds into the glass to breach double glass doors. Okay, it's tempered glass. Bullets are going to go right through that. I don't know which firearm she used to do that. There's no way for me to tell without going and doing ballistics and all that kind of stuff. That's for the police to go do. Now, when she gets in, she's literally roaming around looking through offices and everything else. Ultimately, she had to have gotten up onto the second deck and executed and killed people. That's what she did. She's a killer. Let's just call it what it is. She murdered those people. She murdered those children. Okay, so she's a murderer. Let's just call it that. Okay. The call goes out to law enforcement that there's an active shooter at the school. One of the first arriving officers is Officer Engelbert. Okay, he is set up. He's ready to go. Listen to his voice when he gets there. He is cool, calm, collected. He's obviously been through some type of critical incidents before. He knows what he's doing. Okay. He walks over to some debris. I'm still not able to figure out exactly what that debris was to kind of see what it is. He obviously had a clearer view than what any video is going to show or what his body cam video would show and decided that is negligible. Meanwhile, he's getting briefed by a teacher, someone who's there at the school. Kudos for them for sticking around to brief the officers while they're outside. They are out in the open where they could easily be killed. They're still risking their lives. Then there's another administrator sitting by the door, making sure that nothing else comes out, with keys in hand for Officer Engelbert. The keys already ready for him. All he's got to do is slide it into the lock, and he's ready to gain access into the building. Okay. Again, that's something that they had to train for. That's something that they were prepared to do. That's something that they've probably practiced a few times in order to make it happen that smooth and efficiently. Now, I've heard people complain that they're talking too loud when they're moving through the building and everything else. I have been through a number of different buildings where alarms are going off. Okay? It is insane to try and hear. One thing you need to know about your basic patrol cops, they don't have this cool whiz-bang hearing protection. Half the time they're lucky if they even get a helmet to protect their head or even rifle plate armor. Think about that. So when your police department asks for stuff, think about that. Now, Engelbert's standing right by the door. The first door where he breaches and he calls for gimme three, gimme three. That right there tells me that he's looking to set up a team. Okay, I don't know if what system they're using. They could be using some type of diamond formation. They could be using a 4-man element formation. I don't know. Okay, There are a number of different tactics that are out there that could be used, and to be honest with you, depends on the geographical region of the United States what they could be using, because it depends on what trainers are in that specific area. So
Metro Police!
They're going to be loud. Not only that, like I said, they don't have the cool whiz-bang hearing protection that mutes all the loud noises and amplifies the voice noises. So they don't have that stuff. Yeah, they've got radios, but I'll tell you what, it is still very hard to hear your radio with all those sirens and everything going off. I know from firsthand experience. Okay? I did that for 25 years. Okay. There's so many different things. Now, the doors, when the officers arrived to the doors, it didn't look like there were any counter breaching tools or anything like that that they used, any hooligans or anything like that. So I don't really know if any of them even had anything like that. For you patrol officers that are watching this video, carry something like that in your patrol rifle backpack. Carry some type of breaching tool, a small sledgehammer and a small pry bar. Literally a 12-inch pry bar. It's amazing the stuff that you can get into. Okay, I know this again from firsthand experience. Okay, as they enter into the hallway, you can see that they're systematically clearing. The second they enter, there is no stimulus. Okay, by stimulus I mean there is no gunfire. They don't know where the shooter is. They don't know how many people are injured. They don't know where the injured people are. There's nothing they can do but just start to clear sectors and make sure that it's clear for them to continue to go through. So they did exactly what the national standard is to train. They made their entry and started, because they didn't have any stimulus, doing room to room clearing. Now, here's the deal. They go in and they systematically clear. Tactically sound. Good job. They did an amazing, amazing job. Then one of the best things that I saw going on in there, as soon as they knew that that room was clear, they're double timing it back out to the doorway to get out to the next door. Think about that. They're moving even faster once they've cleared an area. Now, a lot of things that people didn't catch. If you look, there's black bars by each door. Those doors are used to barricade, or I'm sorry, those bars are used to barricade the doors when there is an active shooter protocol. Another thing that the schools have already done to prepare for an active shooter. Think about that. Now, they go through and they start clearing, They get into a big, basically a four-way intersection where they've got to their left doors, to their right an open area, and straight ahead more doors. Plus they've got a big desk in the center of it. Okay. Anybody that knows anything about tactics, that becomes problematic. You need some people for that. So Engelbert takes it on himself and goes to go start clearing areas. Okay. He is looking for the shooter. He's hunting. That's what he's supposed to be doing. That's their job. That's what they're trained to do. Okay. So when you think about all that kind of stuff, they're going to do the things that they've got to do. Okay. Meanwhile, Collazo and his team, they're arriving. I'm not exactly sure where they tried to do their initial breach, but then ended up doubling back and going down the same hallway that Engelbert went down. Okay. And you see how his team kind of marries up with Engelbert's team. And as they're going along, they clear one restroom, and then they hear stimulus. Okay? And I forget what time that was actually at. You can go through and watch the video. It's on YouTube, and you can see all that. Now, Collazo starts to pull up, and he starts acting like a team leader and kind of directing people as to where to go and everything else. He already knows what his resources are. He knows he's got a patrol rifle on site, on scene with him. Okay, so he uses that to his advantage. They go up the stairs. They send up a first rifle guy who must have peeled over to the left, covering their fields of fire. It's totally normal. That's what they're supposed to do. That's part of their tactics. When they hear secondary shots, they all go up the stairs and they break to their right and they go down another little hallway. You can see in the video, it's digitized out, that there is a casualty there. Okay. Now, one thing you need to think about is now these officers, they are seeing the casualties. Okay. That's going to have a psychological effect on them, and it will bother them for the rest of their lives. However, they know they've got a job to go do. And in doing so, they have to go neutralize or stop this particular shooter. Think about that. Could you step over a kid or somebody that's injured and keep going on? Okay, these guys rocked it. They did exactly what they were trained to do. They did an amazing, amazing job. As Engelbert moves up to get the angle, and by the way, outstanding tactics, does a long wedge so that he can get as far away from the wall as possible to get the best angle and get the best line of attack on everything. Okay, now Engelbert takes his shots, begins to put the shooter down. Okay, it appears that the shooter was taking shots at the police officers outside. I don't know for certain. I'm sure we'll find out in the next month or so when they start to release all the police information and the police reports and all that stuff start getting compiled together. And the crime scene guys get to do all the things that they do. Okay. Then Collazo steps up and sees that there's still a threat there and takes several more shots. And from what I can tell, every single one of them hit. I don't know for sure. Okay, that's going to have to come out in the crime scene. Okay. They've now put a suspect down. However, they do not know how many shooters are left. They don't know if it was a solo shooter. They don't know if it's multiple shooters. Okay, or at least that's the information that we go. Remember, this thing was, from the time that the officers landed on scene till the time it was over, was 2 minutes and 15 some seconds. Okay, think about that. Now, a few other things that are going on during this. After they put that suspect down, they still need to protect themselves and protect all the other angles of fire. They did an outstanding job, absolutely outstanding job, setting up security to protect the rest of the guys that are coming up through there, and then they've got to go through and finish their search. Okay? Now, here's the hard part. The video ends. And us as viewers, that's where it ends for us. But in reality, now here's what's got to happen. All those police officers that are on scene, they have to go through room by room and clear every single room. This is not going to be something that's going to be 10, 15 minutes. This is going to be several hours long. Then those officers have to set up a reunification program in order to get the kids back with their parents. Now, I did as much digging as I possibly could. And here's what I found. There were community members that couldn't get near the school but had kids coming through the woods around the school, and they were bringing them to the fire department, which was down the street from there. Okay, this was their community. What would you do if you saw a bunch of little kids that are moving with their teacher that obviously looked terrified? Think about that. This is how this is going to affect the entire community around there. It's not just the school. It's not just the parents. It's not just the lost loved ones. Okay, it's the entire community that's going to feel this now. The police officers are going to spend probably the next 10 to 12 hours on that scene before they start cleaning things up. The crime scene goes through there, does all the things that they need to do. They get families back and everything else. I guarantee there's going to be a lot of tears shed because of that. And we need to do something better for our officers. And I hope that, and I'm pretty certain that the Metro Nashville Police Department is going to have a critical incident stress debrief and all that kind of stuff. And they'll have counselors on site or on scene for them. and there's going to be counselors for the students of the school, the teachers of the school, obviously. But the realities are the community is going to need that support too, and that bonding and strengthening of that community is something that you can't build that. It has to happen before. So when I talk and I preach about building strong communities, it's in preparation for incidents like this. You have to have a good, strong community in order to be able to cope and deal with incidents like these. And that strength in that community is what's going to make all this come out for the better. Now, me just being the tactical guy that I am, I'm looking at how can we analyze this? When we analyze this, how can we improve upon this situation? And to be honest with you, it's difficult because there are 6 people that are dead. 3 little children and 3 adults. Yes, it breaks my heart. Absolutely breaks my heart. But we need to do stuff and look at things to make things better so that things like this do not happen again. First part is real simple. Put ballistic glass on the outside of the school. Yeah. Okay, I've heard that thrown out all kinds of times. Does anybody know what rifle-rated pistol glass or rifle-rated ballistic glass costs? Most schools can't afford that. They don't have it in their budget. Now, if there's some private donors or somebody that wants to come out and take care of that, cool, let's make that happen. But the realities are, it's too cost prohibitive. There's another way that you can do it. You can have an SRO there, school resource officer. Having a school resource officer, having that there based on her manifesto, her own statements. She already said, I'm going to attack this school because I know that I can get in there and I'm not going to be challenged. She put out to a friend of hers that I'm going to die today. So she already knew she was going to die. Her plan was already made. It's a reality. Okay, so let's talk about it. What if we spent $65,000 and paid a security guard to be there? $65,000 for 1 year. That's about what it would take. Uniformed armed security guard. Think about that. Now, another thing they could do, and it's big here in Utah, teachers with concealed carry permits. Yeah, we can get into the controversy of it. I had that conversation with a number of teachers that I teach for Fight Back Nation. Okay, can they, if they have to, shoot one of their students that they have a personal relationship with? A few things to think about. Okay, not only that, what kind of training are they getting? What kind of training are they continuing to do? What kind of firearms training are they doing? What kind of tactics training are they getting? There's so many different variables to that. Okay, yeah, we can talk about it, but let's at least have a conversation about it. Okay, now the other thing I hear, ban guns, no guns, take all the guns away. Okay, sounds good. Let's do that. Then what we have, guys going in with knives, or they go in with bombs, or they go in with cars and they take out the entire playground. Where do we stop with that? Look at Europe. They don't allow guns there. They have knife problem there now. Okay, there was an active killer incident in Japan with a samurai sword on a subway station. Think about that. Just because there's no guns does not mean that it's going to go away. What we need to do is come together as a community, build our strong communities, and teach our young kids and our adults and teach everyone to respect life, to respect other people. I don't care what gender you are, what race you are, or anything like that. All I care is that you try and be a good person. Think about that. Now, to stay somewhat out of the political part of this. Remember who you vote for, because if your people that you're voting for on your school boards and everything like that are saying that no, we can't afford to pay a security guard, okay, go volunteer then. If you're in the security world or the security realm, go volunteer at your kid's school. That's a way that you can do it for free. That's how you can protect your schools. Okay? The other part of this, you've got to be physically fit. You can see in the videos how they're running upstairs. Okay? And I guarantee you, adrenaline is dumping into their body, their heart rate's going up. Okay, 30 to 60 beats per minute. So you've got to be in some type of physical shape in order to be able to handle incidents like this. Not only that, go get your own training. Okay? These things don't just happen at schools. We've had a number of mall shootings. Okay? We've had things happen at big events, outdoor events. Get your medical training. Okay? Your medical training you will use far more than you will use your gun skills. Guarantee you. Okay? Coming from a gun guy. Guys, I'm sick and tired of seeing this kind of stuff happen. Go get yourself an education on what all this active killer stuff really is. This is a mental health issue. This is not a gun issue. Okay? It is a violence issue before it is a gun issue. Murder is still murder. They just happen to be using a gun. Hope everybody understands where I'm coming from on this. Put your comments below. I'd love to hear them, love to read them. Build a strong community. That's what matters. Teach your kids to respect each other and respect life. Y'all have a great day. Be kind to each other.